Hello everyone, this is the 7th episode of my brain tumor diary, and today I will talk about the various online chat groups that you can join once you've been diagnosed with a brain tumor or if you are a carer for a brain tumor sufferer. There are a ton of these chat groups online, and I'll be honest, I used to be more active on them, but then after, let's call it an accident with a member of one of these chat groups, I decided that it is best for me to remove myself because I just felt like they weren't as helpful as I originally thought. Now, I'm not saying you will have the same experience or that they are necessarily bad or harmful or anything. My feeling was it is probably best for me to not log in anymore. But anyway, I'm going to tell you more about it in detail now. So what happened, as I was diagnosed on the 24th of February, I started looking online for information on what to do about the brain tumor, and I stumbled upon a couple of charities which I've already mentioned. So all of these charities have Facebook groups, and all you need to do is go online, look at their website, and then if there's a Facebook icon, you click on it. That will take you to their Facebook page where you can request access to the chat group. I did all of this. I joined 3 of these chat groups, and I think I also joined maybe another 3 that were not associated with any charities. Once I've registered, I then decided to be more active. I asked questions and I read the posts by the other people. And initially I thought this was all fun and games, but then when you ask specific questions and you are expecting specific answers, you don't often get it, and then it will become a bit frustrating. So I will tell you my own very specific example. One day I was thinking I wasn't really getting any answers to my questions, so I thought I would go on one of these chat groups. I'm not going to be specific about which chat groups because I don't want to name and shame. One of these chat groups that I've joined, I went on and I asked my very specific question, which is, I have an oligodendroglioma. It is in the frontal left cortex of my brain. It is this size and this is when I was diagnosed. Can you please respond only if you have the same type of tumor, oligodendroglioma, in the same part of the brain? And I was becoming a bit frustrated because I was asking specific questions and they were giving me vague answers with completely unrelated tumor types. I've actually decided to look up the Facebook post that really pissed me off, so here it is. I'm going to read it. I spoke to the neurosurgeon last week and I received my diagnosis from him. It is an oligodendroglioma, low grade. He will give me another MRI in May, then I can decide whether to operate or not. He said it looks like it is a very slow growing tumor, although I have no idea what he's basing that on since I only ever had one scan 3 weeks ago, so there is no comparison. So I am not sure the watch and wait rule is a good one since it can transform into high grade anytime. There is no telling when. It is at the front left side, 6 by 4 by 4 centimeters. He says the risk is that after surgery I can have a stroke and be paralyzed on one side or lose my memory or speech function. So my question is, any of you had this exact type of glioma around the same place and not had paralysis after op? Or has everyone got paralyzed? It's really such a big decision to make, but the sooner or later the better, and he will need to operate anyway. So I asked the specific question, did you have the same type of tumor in more or less the same location? Only reply. Then what happens was this. I got replies from people. There was one response from one lady who said this. I have the same tumor and have had 2 craniotomies and I've had no long-lasting side effects. In fact, I'm running the London Marathon in 5 weeks. It is a hard decision to make, I know, but don't rush into anything. You have to make sure you're 100% comfortable with what is going on. I like this. It's very specific and answering my question. Let's just see. Another one, I'm going to look for one. Let me see. Okay, this is too long. I'm not going to read it. Well, there is another girl who said this. I had a grade 2 astrocytoma in my left frontal lobe. I had surgery even though there was not much growth. I had no problems after both surgeries. I had 8.5 years between surgeries. Hope this helps. I don't think I'm giving the best example here because these are all very good responses. I'm going to look for the answers that really annoyed me. There's another one. This is a really friendly one. I have a grade 2 oligodendroglioma. I had surgery to remove 90% of it 13 months ago. I was told exactly the same as you. They have to give you the worst outcome just in case it does happen. I was fine. I went home the next day. I am just so exhausted still. I have had 6 weeks of high dose radiotherapy. I have just completed cycle 4 of 6 chemotherapy. I was on watch and wait for 3 years until the tumor grew a little and I started having sensory seizures. What symptoms do you have? Well, this is also quite nice. Let me just find the one that really pissed me off. Same as you, I was told the same in 2015. Scared the life out of me. In 2017 it was a high grade and could cause paralysis as it lay across the motor cortex. Had 2 awake craniotomies November 17, 2nd October 2018 with the pink drink and electrode needles in my skin to reduce loss of feeling, etc. and paralysis. I have a numb little finger, that's it. I wish I had the surgery in 2015 before it grew 3 times the size. But the neurosurgeon was old school apparently and wouldn't have done everything my next 2 surgeons done. My advice would be to get a second opinion even if you have to travel for it. This is also pretty amazing advice. I mean, yes, you think, somebody tells you, oh, wait a little bit, etc. Based on all the advice I have received and the research I have done and the size of the brain tumor in my head I just decided, well, I'm not going to be waiting here for 3 to 5 years. Myself, I'm definitely going to go for the surgery. I've met a lot of people that have decided to have the surgery and they all seem fine. But of course, there is always this nibbling doubt in the back of your mind thinking, oh gosh, is it the best decision or should I not wait? I'm completely fine, no symptoms, nothing. But then every day it is in my mind that there is a ticking time bomb in my head. And like this lady here said, she wishes she had done the surgery much earlier before the tumor grew 3 times to its size. Let me see. I had a grade 1 meningioma, but I still have mobility issues. My left leg is pretty useless and I often need to use a wheelchair. I have seizures that are hopefully now under control and can hobble around a small Tesco with a trolley as a walking aid. I was told that my major issue with surgery was a stroke, but I was lucky not to have one. I just think I'm still alive, it was benign, so all the rubbish side effects I can cope with. This is also very helpful advice, I'm happy with it. She is giving some advice to be cautious and to be prepared. Nothing is wrong with that. Next one. Now this is what really pissed me off. It says here, probably not what you want to hear, but everything you mentioned happened to me after the debug of my grade 2 stroke-like symptoms, grade 3 and short-term memory problems. So I asked the guy, hi, thanks for the feedback. Can I ask where your tumor was located? So he says, it is still there, debug removed 90% from the front right. It's exactly the opposite side where mine is, by the way. There is probably a more precise medicinal term for the location, but to tell you the truth, I don't ask many questions. Just get on with life. If you want any other info, I'll gladly dig out the paperwork. All the best. I'm like, sorry mate, you just sound like such a fake. How the hell do you not know what kind of brain tumor you have? This is probably the biggest diagnosis you've received in your life and you are telling me you don't know what type of brain tumor or what part of your brain it is. I mean, you wake me up in the middle of the night, they are dropping bombs around us, I will still be able to tell you what type of brain tumor I have. And this is really still pissing me off. So I bet you he is just a fake, probably a Russian scammer, lurking around the internet, telling people that he's got a brain tumor and then going into these private chat rooms, scaring the life out of people. I just don't understand what the hell is the point of people like him going around commenting like this. If you can't say anything positive, or at least even if it's not positive but useful, then just shut up and don't say anything. I mean, what use is this? oh, I don't really know where my brain tumor was, I don't even know the size, and I don't even know the name. But if you really want, I can dig up the papers, but I don't ask questions. Well, are you crazy? You go into these things without asking questions, doing your research, and knowing what you actually have? What on earth are you on about? I was pretty pissed off about it, and I'm still pissed off about it. That was one of the things that completely put me off Facebook groups. Okay, there is another response. Slight memory loss and unable to find words, but not enough to be a problem with everyday life. Mine was an awake craniotomy, so they could check me at all times. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about the awake and asleep craniotomy. There's a huge difference between the two. I will talk a little bit about that later. Fortunately, I don't need to be awake because I'm pretty sure I would have post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of my life. I was a bit two ways about it, but I decided, okay, I don't want to be awake because I had a bad experience with one of the MRI scans. But anyway, more about that later in another episode. Let me see, there is this one last thing that I'm going to read. I had the same diagnosis and was advised to watch and wait too, but as I could see in follow-up scans that it was getting slightly larger and I was getting more frequent localized epilepsy symptoms, pins and needles and numbness, it was making me depressed. So my neuro referred me to a neurosurgeon for a second opinion. I asked him what he would do in my situation, and he said get it removed. I had an awake craniotomy, which resulted in me getting left-sided weakness, and I still can't use my left hand. The histology of my second craniotomy showed that my oligo had the code deletion gene, which is now known to make both radio and chemo more effective for this type of tumor, which has been the case because after my second craniotomy and radiotherapy, I've had clear and stable scans since, nearly 10 years. Had I have known what I know now about oligodendrogliomas and the co-deletion gene, I would have rather have had a regular debulking operation and biopsy to check if I had that gene, and if the biopsy showed the co-deletion, I would have opted for the debulking and ART, and I would still be fully able, unlike now. Now, okay, there are a lot of terms here that I've never talked about on any of these videos, but in later episodes I will explain all those terms like debulking and craniotomy and biopsy and co-deletion and stuff like that. When I received my diagnosis, I had absolutely no idea what any of those were, but 3 weeks after the diagnosis, I was all fully up to speed. I am a researcher, analyst and journalist. This is my life, to do research and find out about things. Now this poor guy, he had to wait 3 years to find out about this, and he's now got all his regrets. This is why in the previous few episodes I always explained, do your research, learn about your situation, ask questions, and then based on the facts and the information you have received, make a decision and stick to it. There is no better advice that I can give you. How to say this, going back to the Facebook groups. You could see I got some really great answers, very helpful people, and then there were other people that were absolutely pain in the arse and giving vague answers. If you can cope with that, fine, join these groups, chat with people, make friends, etc. But when you are on a depressing afternoon looking at these Facebook groups and then some idiot responds like this, oh sorry mate, all the things you worry about happened to me and you are probably gonna be paralyzed, have a stroke, might even die. Well, if this is what you would like to be reading, go for it. For my life, I can completely live without it. That chat, I asked these questions back middle of March, end of March. Now we are in August. I haven't looked at any Facebook groups for the past 5 months, and I can't say it's made my life any worse or any better. I'm just fine without it. If you can't say anything good on any of these Facebook groups, don't say anything. That's my advice. And if you are on it, try and be positive and pull people up and provide a bit of positive environment, not this negativity and dragging people down. Unfortunately, a lot of people with brain tumor diagnoses, they probably received the worst news and now they are angry with the world, angry with everybody else, and when they see somebody with some good news or positivity, their immediate reaction is to drag them down into the shit gutter. That will probably make them feel better about themselves. Unfortunately, there is nothing you can do about it. If you join these Facebook groups, you throw yourself out into the open. You just have to take what comes your way. Some comments will be nicer, other comments won't be as nice. It's all up to you. If you can live with it, then fine. But there are all sorts of other support groups in real life, which I've already talked about in the previous episode. Just join some real life support groups. It doesn't even need to be brain tumor specific, just any cancer related support groups, and then go there and talk about your problems, anything that's bothering you, or request a consultation with a neurosurgeon, somebody that's got experience in any of these things, and then talk to somebody that actually knows what they are talking about, not just some Facebook chat group. Anyhow, thank you for watching. If you have any feedback or comments or anything, please just write it below this video, or you can send me a private message. Either of those is fine.